They say the darkest hour is just before dawn. But what they rarely say is this: most people never make it through that hour. Because in that silence, in that unbearable stillness, life doesn't scream. It whispers. And if you're not brave enough to stop and listen, you'll miss everything you were ever meant to learn. We live in a world obsessed with visibility, trophies, followers, money, appearances, proof that we're doing well. But the greatest transformations don't happen under stage lights. They happen in quiet rooms, behind closed doors, when no one is watching. And you've likely already begun this journey, even if you didn't know it. A strange emptiness creeps in. A question you can't shake. A feeling that something inside you is trying to awaken, even if the world keeps telling you to go back to sleep. This is not coincidence. This is initiation. Because whether you're aware of it or not, life gives you 7 sacred tests, each one designed to destroy the illusions that keep you small, and reveal the version of you that was always hidden beneath the noise. Only a few will recognize these tests for what they are. Fewer still will pass them. But if you're watching this now, it means you're already being called. So let's begin. Test 1. Confronting your true self. There are no masks here, just mirrors. Imagine standing in front of a mirror. Not the kind that reflects your face, but one that reflects your essence. It shows you everything: your private fears, your secret resentments, your guilt, your desires, your lies. No makeup, no titles, no roles, just you. This is the first, and most terrifying, test. Can you face yourself? The unraveling begins. From the moment we're born, the world gives us labels: good boy, smart girl, troublemaker, hard worker, pretty, strong, and slowly, we become actors in someone else's play. We adopt personalities that fit the room instead of honoring what's true. We become experts at performing, until we forget who we are beneath the act. But life, in its quiet genius, will eventually bring you to a mirror, a sacred moment of reckoning, where everything external is stripped away. Your job title won't matter. Your follower count won't save you. Your achievements won't comfort you. You'll be asked one question: who are you? When there's nothing left to prove. Real life example: James's collapse. James was a successful lawyer. $300,000 a year. A corner office. Golf on the weekends. Everyone admired him. But late one night, after a quiet dinner alone, he looked in the mirror, and broke. He didn't recognize the man staring back. His face looked tired, his eyes were empty, and in a moment of terrifying clarity, he whispered, "I've built a life I don't even want." That night began his descent into the first test. He quit his job months later, not out of impulse, but because he knew he had never really asked himself what mattered. He started over, from scratch. And for the first time in decades, he began to feel alive. Why most people avoid this test? Because it's brutal. This mirror doesn't lie. It will show you everything you've buried. The childhood shame, the unresolved jealousy, the bitterness, the truth about how you've hurt others, the dreams you've betrayed. It doesn't care about your resume. It demands honesty. And most people, they'll do anything to avoid it. They'll drown in distractions. They'll chase validation. They'll stay in toxic relationships. Also, they never have to look. Because once you see the truth, you can't unsee it. The ego's resistance. The moment you step into this test, your ego will panic. It will say, "You're not that bad. Just focus on the positives. Everyone wears a mask. Don't overthink it. You've achieved so much. Don't ruin it." But your soul, it has no patience for illusions. It craves liberation. Facing the mirror, a guided reflection. Let's try it now, just for a moment. Ask yourself, who am I when no one is watching? What masks am I still wearing? What am I afraid to admit to myself? What part of me do I still hide, even from those closest to me? Take a deep breath. Pause. That discomfort, that's the door. That's the exact place where your true transformation begins. What happens if you face it? You stop lying to yourself. You stop blaming the world. You start healing. You start remembering who you were before the world told you who to be. And that version of you, it's powerful beyond measure, but you can't reach it without going through the fire. Closing for this test. Cyril ask you again, when you're alone, truly alone, will you dare to look into that mirror? Will you face what's real, not what's comfortable? Will you confront the parts of yourself that have never been seen? Because on the other side of that reflection is the beginning of freedom. Test 2. The crucible of isolation. Silence isn't empty, it's full of answers. There comes a moment in every seeker's journey when the world goes quiet. Not by choice, but by force. The calls stop, the friends disappear, the noise fades, and suddenly, you're alone. No distractions, no outside validation, no safety net of busy schedules or surface-level conversations. Just silence. For most people, this is terrifying, because in that silence, we're forced to meet someone we've spent our whole lives avoiding. Ourselves. What isolation actually reveals. We often think we're afraid of being alone. But what we're really afraid of is hearing the unfiltered voice beneath the noise. The voice that reminds you of every dream you gave up. The regrets you tried to bury. The fears you've numbed with dopamine, apps, and endless scrolling. Because when the volume of the world goes down, the volume of the soul turns up. And not everyone is ready for that. A story. Ava in the cabin. Ava, a fast-rising tech executive, decided to take a digital detox in a remote cabin. No phone, no internet, just a journal, food, and trees. The first day, she slept. The second, she paced. The third, she broke. Memories from years ago began flooding back. Her father's death, her mother's silent grief, a breakup she never fully felt. By day 4, she found herself crying at the sound of the wind through the trees. But on day 5, something shifted. She began to feel peace. Not because the noise was gone, but because she had finally made peace with the voice within. Why isolation is a sacred test. This isn't just about being physically alone. It's about choosing to sit in silence when you'd rather run. Isolation strips you of the external scaffolding you use to define yourself. Without your job, who are you? Without your relationships, what do you stand for? Without your schedule, what truly matters? This space, though brutal, is sacred. Because in the stillness, you don't just hear your soul, you remember it. Most people fail this test. Why? Because we're addicted to noise. Music in the background, TV before bed, podcasts while walking, notifications every minute. Silence feels like a void, but it isn't. It's a mirror with no filter. And it's where all your suppressed emotions wait for you. The science of solitude. Modern neuroscience confirms. Silence isn't passive. It's deeply regenerative. Studies show that intentional silence increases neurogenesis, the creation of new brain cells. Especially in the hippocampus, the region tied to memory, learning, and emotion regulation. Silence literally rewires your brain. And yet, we avoid it at all costs. Why? Because it forces us to slow down. And slowing down means feeling everything we've been trying to outrun. What happens in the stillness? In isolation, you begin to notice the lies you've told yourself, the patterns you keep repeating, the dreams you secretly abandoned, the voice that keeps whispering, "There's more to you." At first, this voice will hurt, but over time, if you stay with it, it begins to heal you. It's not always poetic. Sometimes it just says, "Stop pretending," or "You're not happy," or "Go back and forgive your mother." The soul doesn't waste words. It speaks truth, only truth. And truth is what sets you free. The trap of escapism. When this test shows up, your impulse will be to run, to text someone, to binge a show, to scroll endlessly, to make noise. Because sitting with silence feels like dying. And in a way, it is. It's the death of false identities, the death of avoidance, the death of distraction. But that death is necessary. Because what rises after it is you, raw, real, and whole. A guided practice for you. Tonight, try this. Turn off all electronics. Sit in a room with no music. No candles, no books, no guidance. Just your breath and your thoughts. Ask, what emotion have I been avoiding? What part of me feels ignored? What have I not said out loud in years? And then, just listen. No judgment, no answers. Just listen. You'll be surprised what comes up. What you gain from this test. Those who pass the test of isolation gain clarity in chaos, learn to trust their intuition, become immune to peer pressure, understand their true values, develop self-trust. They no longer seek constant company to feel worthy, because they've learned to enjoy their own presence. Closing for test 2. So I ask you, when silence comes, will you run? Or will you stay? Will you resist the urge to numb yourself, and instead let solitude become your sanctuary? Because in that sacred stillness, you don't just survive, you return. Test 3. The test of letting go, releasing to rise. You will find that it is necessary to let things go, simply for the reason that they are heavy. See Joy Bell C. Letting go. 2 simple words. And yet, they often feel like the hardest thing you'll ever do. Why? Because we've been taught that holding on is strength. That fighting, clinging, pushing, that's how you win. That if something matters, you never let it go. But what if life is teaching you something deeper? That surrender is not the same as weakness. That release is not the same as failure. That letting go is not about loss, but liberation. What we cling to. Take a moment. Ask yourself, what are you gripping with white-knuckled hands? A person who doesn't see you anymore. A version of yourself that no longer fits. A childhood dream that became a burden. Guilt, grief, the need to always be right. The fantasy that if you just tried harder, they'd love you. Whatever it is, it's heavy, and the longer you carry it, the more you sink beneath it. The paradox: letting go feels like dying. We think we'll fall apart if we release, because we've wrapped our identities around these things. We say, who am I if I'm not chasing that dream? What's left of me if I forgive them? If I stop proving myself? Will anyone even notice I exist? We fear that letting go will leave us empty. But here's the truth. Letting go doesn't leave you empty. It clears space. And only in that space can something new be born. A real story. Diego's divorce. Diego had been married for 18 years. He and his wife had grown apart. The love was gone, but the memories remained, and the fear. He told himself, it's better to stay together for the kids. But he knew the truth. They weren't just drifting, they were drowning. It took 2 more years for Diego to finally speak the words, I need to let this go. The grief came first, then guilt, then silence. But eventually, something rose from that space. Not regret, but clarity. He began painting again. He started volunteering. He laughed more freely. Diego didn't lose his life. He found it again, because he chose to release what no longer served his soul. Why letting go is a test few pass. Because it demands trust in something you can't yet see. You're not just releasing a person or a plan. You're releasing the illusion of control. Letting go means trusting that what's next is better, even if you have no idea what that is. And that's terrifying. So most people hold on to their trauma, to their roles, to their bitterness. They'd rather stay in a prison they know than risk the freedom of the unknown. The illusion of control. Life is a river, but instead of flowing with it, we try to dam it up. We obsess over timelines. We plan every step. We try to bend others to our will. And then we wonder why we're exhausted. Letting go is not passive. It's not doing nothing. It's choosing to stop fighting the current and learning how to swim with it, not against it. Letting go versus giving up. They are not the same. Giving up comes from fear. Letting go comes from wisdom. Letting go is not abandoning effort. It's abandoning resistance. It's releasing attachment to outcomes you can't control. It's saying, I trust that what's meant for me won't miss me. I don't have to force this anymore. I can grieve and still move forward. A visual practice, the open hand. Try this right now. Close your fist as tight as you can. Feel the tension in your fingers, your wrist, your arm. Now open it. Feel the release, the relief. This is what the soul experiences when you finally let go. Not weakness, but weightlessness. That's the invitation of this test. The emotional roots. Many of the things we hold on to aren't about what they seem. That toxic relationship, it's not about love, it's about fear of being alone. That dream job you won't quit, it's not about purpose, it's about proving your worth. That grudge you carry, it's not about justice, it's about unresolved pain. Letting go means tracing the emotion back to its root, and then having the courage to heal it, not hold it. What happens when you let go? You don't lose yourself. You meet yourself. You begin to breathe more freely, sleep more deeply, speak more honestly, love more cleanly, move through the world with grace, not tension. You stop being a prisoner of your past, and become a participant in your present. An invitation to you. Ask yourself, what am I clinging to that no longer serves me? What am I afraid will happen if I let it go? And most importantly, what could happen if I did let go? Not because you're giving up, but because you're ready to grow. The seed must release the shell before it can sprout. You too must release the old, so that the new can begin. Closing for test 3. So I ask you, what are you holding that's holding you back? What weight are you carrying that was never yours to begin with? And what if, today, you chose to set it down? Because letting go doesn't make you weaker. It makes you free. Test 4. The dark night of the soul, breaking down to break open. In the middle of the journey of our life, I came to myself in a dark wood, where the straight way was lost. Dante Alighieri. There is a point in the journey when everything falls apart. Not just outside, but inside. The world you built begins to crumble. The beliefs that guided you go silent. Even your identity, the you've known for years, begins to fade. This is not depression. This is not a bad week. This is not burnout. This is the dark night of the soul. And it is one of the most sacred and excruciating initiations life will ever offer you. What is the dark night of the soul? It is the collapse of meaning. The goals that once drove you suddenly feel hollow. The relationships you counted on feel distant. The beliefs you once clung to feel like lies. It is not a punishment. It is a spiritual detox, a stripping away of everything false. So only the essential remains. But here's the secret no one tells you. You will think you're dying. And in a way, you are. You're dying to the life that no longer fits your soul. Real story. Maya's collapse. Maya had it all. A successful business, a loving partner, a curated life. From the outside, everything was perfect. But one morning, she couldn't get out of bed. Her body worked, but her will was gone. Food had no taste, music no joy. Everything felt gray. She went to doctors, took supplements, meditated. Nothing changed. Until she stopped running and finally asked the question she had avoided for years. What if I built a life around who I thought I had to be, and never asked who I truly was? That question broke her, but it also freed her. She shut down her company, moved across the country, started painting again, something she hadn't done since she was 12. Maya didn't fix her life. She rebuilt it from the inside out. Why this test hurts so deeply? Because the dark night attacks your foundations. Everything that gave you a sense of stability is called into question. Who am I really? What do I actually believe? Why do I even exist? These aren't philosophical curiosities anymore. They become the storm inside your chest. And there is no way around it. Only through. The ego dies here. You're not just losing people or plans. You're losing illusions. The illusion that success will save you. The illusion that you're in control. The illusion that being good means you'll never suffer. The illusion that the world owes you something. And because we've built our lives around these illusions, their collapse feels like the end of everything. But it's not the end. It's the beginning of something real. The tunnel with no light. People often describe this experience as walking through a tunnel. Long, cold, endless, with no light in sight. Your prayers feel unanswered. Your rituals feel empty. Your hope fades. You don't even want happiness anymore. You just want relief. And it's here, in this shadow, that the temptation to give up is strongest. Not to end your life, but to stop caring about it, to become numb, to shrink, to disappear. But this moment, this rock bottom, is holy ground. Because it's where your soul stops negotiating with comfort and begins demanding truth. This test can't be rushed. You can't speed through a dark night. It's not a mindset shift. It's not a journal prompt. It's not a weekend retreat. It's a full body surrender. And the only way to move through it is to stop resisting it. To say, I don't know who I am right now. I don't know what's next. And maybe that's okay. What the dark night is really doing. It's excavating you. It's reaching deep into your roots and pulling out everything that was never yours. The identity you inherited, the fears you adopted, the beliefs you never questioned, the voices in your head that were never your own. It's making space, not for the old you to return, but for the true you to emerge. The moment of rebirth. Eventually, and you won't know when, something shifts. You hear a birdsong and it moves you. You taste your coffee and feel grateful. You laugh, really laugh, and it surprises you. It's not dramatic. There's no parade, just a flicker of warmth in a long winter. And from that flicker, you begin to rise, not as who you were, but as who you really are. Signs you're emerging. Your attachments loosen. Your judgments soften. You stop needing to prove anything. You become interested in truth, not performance. You feel peace without needing a reason. You may have fewer friends, but more intimacy. Less certainty, but more faith. Less noise, but more clarity. A warning and a blessing. The dark night will come again. Not because you failed, but because you've grown. And each time it does, you'll go deeper, but each time, you'll also be stronger. Because now you know, the night doesn't kill you. It reshapes you. And the light doesn't come from the outside. It rises from within. Closing for test 4. So I ask you, when the night comes, and it will you cling to the pieces of your old self? Or will you surrender to the fire that wants to forge you into something new? Because in the dark, you do not disappear. You become. Test 5. Faith in the unseen, walking with no map. Faith is taking the first step even when you don't see the whole staircase. Martin Luther King Jr. There comes a moment after the dark night, when the storm has quieted, but the path ahead is still hidden. You're no longer drowning, but you're not yet walking confidently either. You're in between the person you were, and the one you're becoming. And now life asks you something extraordinary. Will you move forward, without knowing what comes next? This is the test of faith in the unseen. The fog of becoming. Imagine standing at the edge of a vast fog-covered field. You know you can't go back, but you can't see more than 2 feet ahead. You step forward. Nothing. You take another step. Still fog. You start to wonder, is this even the right way? Should I wait until I'm sure? What if I fail again? But faith, real faith, doesn't wait for clarity. It creates it. The most misunderstood test. People often confuse faith with wishful thinking. They think it means hoping everything will turn out okay. But that's optimism, not faith. Faith is not pretending the struggle isn't real. Faith is walking forward anyway, especially when it is. It's choosing movement over paralysis. It's taking a step into the fog, not because you see the way, but because you trust there is one. Real story, Elijah and the leap. Elijah had just left a 10-year career in finance. No backup plan, no clear idea what came next. Just a deep knowing, I can't keep living like this. His family called him irresponsible. His friends stopped calling at all. He spent weeks applying for jobs that didn't feel right. Then one morning, while walking in a park, he saw a flyer, teach mindfulness to kids, no experience needed. He called, he showed up, he started teaching, and something clicked, deep in his soul. 10 years later, Elijah runs a nationwide nonprofit, helping children manage anxiety. But it all started with one blind step into the unknown. Why this test is so hard? Because it asks you to let go of your addiction to guarantees. We crave certainty. Will this work out? Will I be safe? Will I be loved? Will I succeed? But life rarely gives you previews. It gives you prompts. It gives you nudges. And then it watches to see if you'll move. What faith actually looks like. It's not loud. It doesn't scream confidence. Faith is writing the book with no idea if it will be read. Starting the business with no promise of profit. Leaving the relationship that's safe but stifling. Saying yes when your whole body trembles. Saying no when everyone around you says go. Faith isn't blind. It's deeply intuitive. It comes from a knowing that defies logic. It whispers, there's something more, even if you can't prove it yet. A practice, trusting the invisible net. Close your eyes. Imagine you're walking a tightrope stretched across a canyon. The drop below is terrifying. But there's something different here. Every time you take a step, a net appears beneath your foot. But only after you move. This is how faith works. You won't see the support until after you step. Not before. The myth of control. Faith often dies in those who seek too much control. Because faith and control don't coexist. You can't micromanage the universe. You can't spreadsheet your soul's journey. You either trust that something larger is guiding you, or you shrink into fear. This doesn't mean abandoning discernment. It means releasing the illusion that you can force certainty before you act. Where faith shows up most often, this test appears in transitions. After heartbreak, after leaving a job, after a spiritual awakening, after a loss, moments when the old map no longer works, and the new one hasn't arrived. You are, quite literally, in the void. But here's the gift of the void. It's where you stop performing and start becoming. A note on doubt. You will doubt yourself. You will want to turn back. You'll tell yourself, I'm not ready. This is too risky. I need more signs. But the signs come after the step, not before. So take the step. Because even if you fall into something true. Signs you're passing this test. You act even when you're unsure. You follow your inner voice, not the crowd. You stop needing others to validate your direction. You start sensing a deeper rhythm in your life. You feel peace even when you don't have answers. You move, not because you're certain, but because you're guided. Closing for test 5. So I ask you, when the path disappears, when logic says, wait, but your soul says, go, will you move? Will you trust the unseen? Because what you can't yet see might be everything you were meant to become. Test 6. The test of surrender. Aligning with the flow. Surrender is not giving up. It is giving in to something deeper, wilder, and wiser than your ego could ever understand. You've faced the silence. You've walked through the fire. You've even stepped forward in faith when no path was visible. But now, life asks for something greater. Not just courage. Not just trust. It asks for your complete surrender. Not to give up, but to give in to the deeper current guiding your life. This is the test of surrender. And it may be the hardest one yet. The lie of control. Most of us live under an illusion that we can control our future if we plan hard enough. That we can avoid pain if we protect ourselves well enough. That we can force life to bend our expectations if we just try harder. But the truth is this. Control is the ego's last defense against transformation. And surrender is its ultimate death. What surrender really means. It doesn't mean inaction. It doesn't mean apathy. It doesn't mean you lie down and let life walk over you. Surrender means cooperating with what life is trying to do through you. It means saying, I may not understand this, but I trust it. This isn't what I planned, but maybe it's exactly what I need. I'm done fighting what is. Surrender is not weakness. It's strength without resistance. Real story. Claire's collapse into grace. Claire had built her life around being the strong one. For everyone. At 43, she was diagnosed with a rare autoimmune condition. Her body began to break down. She could no longer do things her way. At first, she resisted. She forced productivity. She pretended to be fine. But one night, lying in bed unable to move her limbs, she whispered, I surrender, not to the illness, but to the reality. She stopped trying to fix her life and started listening to it. She began painting again. She let others help her. She stopped managing her emotions and began feeling them. That surrender didn't cure her condition, but it healed something deeper. Her soul exhaled, and for the first time in years, Claire felt light. Why we fear surrender? Because we think it means loss. We think it means losing our edge, losing our goals, losing our identity. But what we're actually losing is the illusion of who we thought we had to be. And that's the whole point. Surrender feels like falling, until you realize you're held. Picture this. You're clinging to a cliff edge, arms shaking, terrified to let go. You think you'll fall into a bottomless pit. But when you finally release, you realize you were only inches above the ground the whole time. And that the ground was always waiting to catch you. That's surrender, the war you stop fighting. Most of us are at war with reality. We fight our past, that shouldn't have happened. The present, I hate where I am. The future, what if it all goes wrong? But here's the truth. You can't be at war with life and be at peace within yourself. Surrender doesn't change the world around you. It changes your relationship with it. A practice, the surrender breath. Try this now. Close your eyes. Inhale deeply through your nose, hold it. Exhale slowly through your mouth, and as you do, say in your mind, I release. Repeat 3 times. This isn't about fixing anything. It's about remembering that not everything is yours to carry. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is exhale. The hidden intelligence of life. Surrender means believing this, that there's a deeper intelligence moving through your life. One that knows more than your mind ever could. Look at nature. The tree doesn't force its leaves to fall, it surrenders. The river doesn't fight the rocks, it flows around them. The moon never rushes to be full, it waxes and wanes. Always in rhythm. Why do we believe we're the exception? What happens when you surrender? Resistance turns to receptivity. Fear turns into faith. Exhaustion becomes ease. You stop carrying burdens that were never yours to begin with. You no longer need to know everything, because you trust that life is unfolding with meaning. Not always comfort, not always certainty, but always purpose. Signs you're passing this test. You stop overanalyzing every detail. You stop controlling others' perceptions. You accept discomfort as part of the path. You let go of timelines and trust the timing. You begin to enjoy the process, not just the outcome. You stop asking, why is this happening to me? And you begin asking, what is this trying to teach me? Closing for test 6. So I ask you, will you let go of the rope you've been gripping? Will you trust the river to carry you? Will you surrender, not because you've given up, but because you're finally ready to be carried? Because in surrender, you don't lose your life. You finally begin living it. Test 7. The test of awakening, becoming what you've always been. Awakening is not changing who you are. It is discarding who you are not. Deepak Chopra. What if everything you've been chasing was never outside you? What if the peace you longed for, the clarity you begged for, the meaning you searched the world to find, was always already within? This is the final test. Not of strength, not of endurance, not of control or effort. This is the test of awakening, where you stop seeking and start seeing. What awakening really is. Awakening is not a mountaintop experience. It's not fire from the sky. It's not becoming some perfect enlightened being. Awakening is this. You realize you were never broken. You realize you were never separate. You realize you were never becoming. You were always being. But the noise of the world, the layers of identity, the programming, had covered that truth like dust on a mirror. And now, finally, you see clearly, the end of the search. So many people live like beggars, holding out a bowl and asking the world, validate me, tell me who I am, prove that I matter. But awakening flips the bowl over. Because once you remember your wholeness, you no longer beg for love, worth, or truth. You embody it. Real story. Nico's quiet realization. Nico had spent a lifetime on the spiritual hamster wheel. Books, retreats, certifications, mantras, always one step away from finally getting it. Then one night, after walking home in the rain, He sat on his couch, soaked, exhausted, and empty, and for the first time in years, he stopped trying. No ritual, no search, no analysis. He just breathed, and something opened. Not fireworks, not visions, just a quiet presence, a deep, unshakable knowing. I'm already home. That moment changed everything, because it wasn't a revelation. It was a return. What falls away? As you awaken, certain things begin to dissolve. The need to impress, the obsession with time, the chase for status, the fear of judgment, the illusion of separateness. You no longer try to dominate the world. You become one with it. You begin to see life as sacred, in every moment. Even the boring ones, even the hard ones, even the silent, ordinary seconds between heartbeats. You don't awaken to escape life. You awaken to embrace it. This is where many seekers go wrong. They think awakening means transcending the human experience, floating above pain, escaping suffering, but true awakening pulls you deeper into life, not away from it. You cry more freely, you laugh more honestly, you hold hands more tightly, you feel more deeply, not less. Because now you know, you are not in the world. You are the world. The shift in identity. Before awakening, you thought, I am my name, I am my story, I am my roles, I am my past. After awakening, you know, I am awareness itself. I am the space within the story. I am the silence behind the noise. I am the witness, not the wound. And that knowing changes everything. Not by adding, but by stripping away what was never true. The awakened life. What does it look like? You live slower, but more present. You speak less, but more truthfully. You desire less, but feel more fulfilled. You fear less, but love more courageously. You stop needing to be special, because you realize everything is sacred. The flower, the traffic light, the breath in your lungs. It's all alive with intelligence. And so are you. A practice. Sitting in I am. Try this now. Sit still. Close your eyes. And say silently, I am. Don't add anything. Not, I am strong. Not, I am healing. Not, I am broken. Just, I am. Feel that. Let it expand. This is what remains. When every label is burned away. That's you. That's always been you. You are the answer. Awakening reveals something simple and revolutionary. That the seeker was the sought. That what you were looking for was doing the looking. You don't become enlightened. You realize you always were. You just forgot. Signs you've passed this test. You no longer seek approval. You respond instead of react. You feel deeply connected to others, even in silence. You no longer chase meaning, because you are meaning. You feel unshakable peace, even in chaos. You carry presence wherever you go. Not because you try, but because you are. The journey continues. Awakening is not a finish line. It's the opening of a door. And beyond that door, is a life of deeper service. Deeper joy. Deeper mystery. You still struggle. You still stumble. But now you walk with eyes open. And a heart unarmored. And that changes everything. Final words. The integration of all 7 tests. These tests are not separate. They are phases of one sacred process. You face yourself, and begin. You sit in silence, and listen. You let go, and release. You break down, and rise. You trust the unseen, and walk. You surrender, and flow. You awaken, and remember. This is not a hero's journey. It's the journey of the human soul waking up to itself. Few pass these tests, not because they lack worth, but because they forget who they are. But if you've watched this far, you haven't forgotten. You're remembering. Welcome home.